Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Dumbest Kid in the Room podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Butler. We're kind of in a new scene right now. We're enjoying the beautiful sun. It's warm out today. For the past couple of weeks in Oklahoma, it's been very cold. So me and Steve were talking at the beginning of the podcast, after this clip, of course. We were talking about just how beautiful it is. Because the past couple of weeks, we've had some snow, some ice. It's not fun. So I'm outside enjoying the weather. And I thought might as well bring you guys out here to do the intro. Well, I had a great conversation with Steve Brown today. He's a mortgage originator at First United Bank here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. All his info will be in the description, so if you want to reach out to him for any personal home financing needs, whether you're buying an investment property in your name or you're just wanting to move and finance your own house, go hit him up. He's a great guy. We had a great conversation. He owns multiple rentals in the Tulsa metro area. He has one, I think, in Broken Arrow, a couple in Broken Arrow. But he's also hopefully going to be a recurring character on the podcast. We're going to get him and Kyle Miller together to kind of do a little contrast episode, because Kyle does short-term rentals. He does more long-term. He doesn't like messing with the Airbnb stuff. So I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. We had a great conversation. My camera actually died in the middle of it, so there's that little jump cut. That's why. Got it charged back up and we went rolling again. But we could have talked for hours. He's a great guy. Love talking to him. A lot of great insight on failure. We were talking about just all the early business ventures he had and how much he failed, but all the lessons he learned through that. So I hope you guys get some great takeaways from this episode. I sure did. He had a great quote at the end, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And anyways, if it's nice where you're living, go outside. Enjoy the weather. It's beautiful out. I've been stuck inside my house when it's been snowing, and it sucks. I hate the cold, love the warm weather, so I sported my good old Hawaiian shirt today in honor of the great weather. So anyways, I'll stop rambling here. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Make sure you go ahead, give this video a like, give me a subscribe, please. I beg of you. But if you guys have any questions or any suggestions at all, please comment them down below. I'd love to hear your guys' feedback and hear what everybody's thinking. I'm having so much fun with this podcast, and I'm trying to improve the quality of it just episode by episode. So by 100 episodes, this podcast will be looking clean and sharper than it ever has before. So if you guys have any suggestions for guests in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area, or even all around the world, I can always hop on a video call. So all my contact information is down below. I got a little link tree in there. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, you name it, my email's down there. Send me an email. I'd love to hear from you guys. Well, I think I'm done rambling. I keep saying I'm done rambling, but then I ramble more. So I'm going to end it here. I hope you guys enjoy this wonderful episode with the great Steve Brown. Enjoy. All right. You all good?
Get the microphone set. Yeah, we're set.
All right.
Yeah.
How are you doing, Steve? Here?
Man, I'm doing great. It's
Hey.
Isn't it amazing how Oklahoma we have, like, you can go from like 2 degrees, like last week we had sleet and snow on the ground, and now it's going to be like 80 degrees.
Right. We can go from, I was wearing about like 2 layers on the top, 2 layers on the bottom, to now I'm wearing a Hawaiian.
Yeah, I'm in a t-shirt and jeans, and last week I think I was like the Stay Puft marshmallow man.
I had a beanie everywhere I went, made sure my ears were warm. I had it all.
Yeah.
Oklahoma's, it's
Oklahoma.
Wild.
Love it.
I love the weather, but when it does get nice, it's nice.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna enjoy this nice weather while we have it.
All week long.
So, man, it's great getting to meet with you. We've talked on the phone multiple times, but I've never met you. So today I just met Steve, good old Steve Brown, on the podcast. So
thanks for the invite.
Tell us what you do.
Yeah, so I'm a mortgage lender by trade. That's like my day job.
Your title.
Yeah, that's what
title.
I do. I mean, the bigger conversation I would say is like what I start with. I'm a husband and a father first, but everything else flows down from that. So I've been in mortgage lending. What's crazy is I was just thinking about this over the weekend. This is actually my 20th year.
Well, congrats.
Yeah,
that's
thank
awesome.
you. Thank you.
20 years in the business. That's a big deal.
It'll be October of this year will mark the official 20-year mark. And
wow, that's crazy.
Oh my gosh, there's been a lot happen. I feel like I could write a book just based on those last 20 years.
You should. I support that.
Someday.
I support that. Yeah, someday.
In the next life.
Yeah. So what got you started in real estate? Start back. Where did you graduate from high school?
Okay, yeah. So I grew up. Cue the song. Just a small town boy, Cleveland, Oklahoma, which is just west of downtown Tulsa. Graduated from there back in 1993. So that's before the turn of the century there.
Before I was even born.
Yeah, there you go.
Not to make you feel older.
Appreciate that. Yeah. So grew up in Cleveland, and I really what I like about that is just the small town. The roots.
Feel.
The feel. It's really carried with me.
Everybody kind of knows each other.
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of take that mentality that we grew up, everybody knew each other, everybody kind of had each other's back, and it was just a very casual, laid back, chill feel. So taking that into the big city of Tulsa is it's been a big part of my career. So from there, grew up there, graduated there, then went over to Northeastern State University in Tahlequah.
Yep.
Spent
go Riverhawks.
Right? Yeah. Well, it was the Redmond. If I can say that now. That's what we were. That's what we were then.
I didn't.
Forever will be the Redmond to me. Yeah,
right.
But it's the Riverhawks now.
Gotcha.
You're right. Spent 5 good years there, so I was I was a 5-year senior. I liked my senior year so much. I tried it twice. So I was there from 93 to 98, and then moved here to Tulsa in 98 right after I graduated college. Okay. So and
what'd you major in?
I majored in business. Okay. So business administration was what my degree was in. And then kind of an interesting transition and, so to kind of talk about my career, where it started. So I thought that I wanted to go into like accounting, be like either not necessarily a CPA, but like a controller, maybe CFO type role like that. Yeah. So I actually worked for a television station here in Tulsa, News on 6.
There you go.
Shout out
to News on 6.
There you go.
Get all your trustworthy news from
there. That's right. Yeah. So I worked in the accounting department there. I was the credit manager there for a couple of years. So what I thought I was going to be doing was grooming for a position higher than being a credit manager. Get more into
the corporate side of things.
So I started my MBA through Northeastern State as well. At the time, they only offered it in Muskogee.
Okay.
And they only offered it at night. So I'd go to work, 8 to 5, and then once or twice a week I'd have to drive to Muskogee.
How was it balancing that? Balancing the work week to
it was tough.
Straight to school.
No, I didn't have a family then, so that that was. But still, being the adult life, it was still like, okay, I've been at work all day.
And at that point, you just got out of college. You're kind of just thrown into the workforce, and then you're trying to go back to school at the same time. Like that's a lot to handle. Learning like a completely new job, like you're fresh, and then also going back to school. What was the workload like of getting your master's?
It was a lot different than my undergraduate. So that's the biggest part that was like overwhelming to me. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like my undergraduate was like, okay, we kind of cruised through that. That was MBA. It was like education on steroids.
It took a step up.
This is intense. This is different. So not only was it a drive to Muskogee, which is about a 40-minute drive from Tulsa. The classes were from like 6 to 8:30, and then the second class would be right after that until like 11. So I wouldn't be getting back home till about midnight. This was once or twice a week we do that. But then, so I had an epiphany. I got about halfway through my MBA program. It was about a 32-hour program. I got to like 15 hours, and I had this epiphany. Like, I just don't think this is the career path that I don't think I want to go along this path. Not to knock anybody that's in accounting or anything, but it was, I didn't find it very, my personality was not a good fit for it. I was like, I'm not, I mean, I love numbers and we'll obviously get into that as far as, when we take a deeper dive into the real estate investment part of it, but it just wasn't a path that I wanted to pursue. And I did an about face.
At one point, did that switch in your brain flick to where this isn't for me. I'm going to go and do the next venture.
I think it was literally like after a class, like probably on a drive back. I mean, I don't remember the exact moment, but it was probably
if you got about an hour and a half round trip, you're going to
get a lot of windshield time to think about a lot of things. And I think that was the transition of, I don't think this is the career path for me. I think I want to go more into like sales and marketing and pursue and entrepreneurship. Those are the things that were always, within my spirit that I wanted to pursue.
Did you ever have like an entrepreneurship spirit just growing up?
Yeah, I did. Going back to my childhood, the very first venture that I had was a lemonade stand at my grandparents' garage sales. So me and my cousins, we would sell it. Inflation has gone through the roof. And I tell you this price, 10 cents a cup is what we would sell it for. Cheap. And man, we would clean house because in Cleveland, Oklahoma, garage sales are a big deal. A lot of traffic, a lot of volume. So
that's what everybody does on a Friday and Saturday morning. They get up and they go on the garage sale. I used to go garage selling with my mom all the time. So I know that very well, getting up at 7 a.m. Go hit some garage sales.
People are there like before daybreak with their flashlights looking to see what you have. They want to get the first shot at buying something before you actually open. So,
exactly.
Yeah. So it started back way back then. And I really liked that. I liked that aspect of like, okay, creating something, providing a product to someone, and making a profit off of it. So that was very intriguing to me at an early age. So
you decided master's program not for me.
Yeah.
So you just ended up staying with just your bachelor's. You never got your MBA.
Yeah, I didn't finish.
And then so what got you? Obviously, you had the idea. I want a sales job, marketing. Yeah. What got you into the door of real estate out of all the sales jobs you could have got?
What got me into real estate? Well, it's kind of so being in mortgage lending, it's kind of the two go kind of hand in hand.
Right.
Because with mortgage lending, obviously I'm helping people get money to buy real estate.
Exactly.
So now primarily most folks are buying homes for as their primary residence, but there are some folks that were coming in that I would see that were buying rental properties. And you can buy, like I do residential mortgage lending, which really what that means is in your individual name. So I can't do commercial lending or lending in an LLC. Obviously those opportunities are out there. And I can do if for people that want to buy an investment property in their personal name, I can help them.
Right.
And sometimes people would come to me and that's what they wanted to do. Well, I would see these on a daily basis. Like,
a lot of people are doing this.
A lot of people are buying houses.
There must be a reason.
There's something to this. So, and now we're kind of fast forwarding into my career because I didn't start getting into real estate investments until about 7 years ago.
Okay.
So I was working in this,
kind of late bloomer. So starting out, so did you go straight from News on 6 to mortgage lending, or was there some
so there was a couple of ventures in between. So that's kind of an interesting story as well. Yeah. So what I decided, and again, this was literally 20 years ago, as I was transitioning out of, I left News on 6 and I went into a sales job, not mortgage related, but I worked for a company this is a very specific field. So you're familiar with like credit reports. People have credit. So there's companies that resell those. They're a vendor. Okay. So I worked for a company. I was a sales rep that would resell those to, provide that service to banks, credit unions, auto dealerships, anybody who had a need for a credit report. Very specific field. So I took
I'll be honest, I didn't know that industry existed.
It probably doesn't now for the reason I'm about to tell you. So that career path went along for about a year and a half. It was a very short-lived. Well, during that time frame, I also decided to go into I wanted to have my own business.
All right. Want to be your own boss.
Yeah. So I actually bought a pizza place, like a carry-out delivery pizza place in Broken Arrow. Yeah. So, and the reason why is like, okay, why is that? And the question might be, why is that? So my very first job, again, I'm kind of going all over the place here. Going back to Cleveland, Oklahoma, my very first job whenever I was 16 years old was at Mazzio's Pizza.
Okay. Yeah.
And I worked there off and on, honestly, through my first year of college. You know, just had various stints that I would work there whenever I'd come back home. And worked
some
at
extra help.
Yeah, exactly.
Picked up some extra
during Christmas time or during summertime when I'd be home. And I worked at another place in Tahlequah during college. So I knew the business.
Right.
So I decided, so I had this full-time job then, and I decided, I'm like, okay, I'm going to make this my side hustle. Yeah. Surely I can handle this.
Surely.
Well, there are a few details, but to be honest with you, it was a failure. The business failed. Yeah. And so what was going on at the same time is not only was that business failing, it was a very short-lived business, but that same job that I had, the company that I worked for, they were bought out by a bigger company. Right. So they had their own sales force. Therefore, there was no need for them to keep my position open.
So you ended up getting laid off from the...
Yep. It was a double. Double I lost my job here.
Lost your side hustle.
This business is failing, and I had to close shop because it just didn't make sense anymore. So then this is what leads to me going into my mortgage career. So I needed a job because I have bills to pay. Yeah, I got, I have a house payment, have things that I have to do. So a friend reached out to me and he said, hey, so-and-so works at this bank. They're a mortgage lender, loan officer, whatever. And, they need a mortgage processor. And I'm like, okay, I don't know anything about it. I just know I need a job. I know a little bit about lending, I can figure it out. I'm like, I just need a job.
Right. You'll figure out as you go type.
Yeah. So I go interview for it, get the job. I mean, it was very minimal pay, but I learned a lot. And quickly into that job as a mortgage processor, and I was only in that position for about a year and a half because as I was observing, looking at the originators around me, I'm like, I can do what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing it because I'm doing the work for them and you're just doing where are they?
Grunt work,
yeah, exactly. So that's when, again, kind of took a risk and a leap of faith because being a mortgage originator, it's just like being in real estate. It's commission based. Yep. There's no guaranteed pay.
You got to build the relationships.
Exactly.
You got to find the clients.
Yeah. And I really liked it. Yeah. I liked I liked what I had learned over the last year and a half, and I decided to take that leap of faith. Even though my other business had just failed. I had lost my other job a year and a half but prior to that.
You're getting beat down left and right.
Yeah, I'm like, this is the path that I want to go down. Yeah. And as they say, the rest is history.
There you go.
Now, has it been easy? No.
I think everybody who's tried to start up their own business all knows very well.
Right.
Business, it's difficult and challenging, and you're going to fail a lot.
Oh my gosh.
And myself included, I have failed left and right. Like I was talking to you before the podcast, back in high school, I had a production company for about a year with some friends of mine. We did photography, video, and graphic design. Man, did that business fail. It went right into the ground.
Yeah.
And we just kind of let it go at that point, but I learned a lot of valuable lessons through it.
That's what I was going to say. You can always take something away from your failures and use it to help you in your future endeavors.
I think that's what defines a successful person is how they take their failures. Do they learn from it or do they not?
Right. So, but at the same time, you can't let it paralyze you, because you can... And myself included, sometimes I can go back to those moments of failure and be like, oh man, what if that happens again? And then, do I do an about face and full retreat?
Prevents you from taking the risk of starting another business.
Yeah, exactly. Because we don't want to get paralyzed by our own fault. We can learn from it, but at the same time, not let it just paralyze you.
So how would you go about not being paralyzed? What's something that has helped you mindset wise?
So I think I look back, okay, what caused me to fail? Whenever, okay, what was going on at that time? So again, I was 20 years younger. So, and these are kind of some hard things for me to admit, but 20 years later, I don't mind. So a lot of it then was my own self-pride and my own ego thinking I know better. I'm a college graduate. Right. I made it halfway through my MBA. What do you know? I know everything. So that was a lot of it. Yeah. And there were honestly at the time, there were people trying to speak into my life saying, hey, you may want to pump the brakes on this and just slow your roll and take a look. But I didn't. So my mindset then was just to prove those people wrong.
Right.
And so I look back at that. I'm like, okay, that was my mindset then. Mm-hmm. So that doesn't mean, 15, 20 years later, I'm necessarily going to fail at this next thing. It just means take your own advice back then. Mm-hmm. Slow your roll, and let's really look at what's going on here. And maybe, so to answer your question, as far as the mindset part of it, seek counsel from people that have been there before, that have done some of these things, and get just different feedback from other people. But ultimately, I don't think we want to put our sole decision based on what another person's opinion is. Mm-hmm. We take their counsel into account, consideration.
Right.
But ultimately, we know ourselves better than anybody else.
Right.
And we have to make that decision based on what we know, what we're capable of, or not.
That's kind of the reasoning behind me starting this podcast was I'm only 20 years old. I honestly have no clue what I'm doing half the time. I'm faking it till I make it. So might as well seek counsel from as many successful people as I can. Learn from them.
Yeah.
Be the dumb kid in the room, for heck's sake. So, right? So shout out to the name there.
Yeah, there you go. Drop. Yeah. Brought to you by.
Yeah.
So on that note, that's kind of funny. Hey, I'm 47 years old, and I still don't know everything,
right?
Man. I'm still just trying to figure it out.
I was actually talking to my mom this morning. She's a nurse, and she loves photography. She's actually who got me into photography when I was young.
Right.
And she was talking to me this morning, and she's like, I want to get out of nursing. And I was like, I fully understand that.
Yeah.
Like, she's been in it for 25 years. She's just tired of the entire industry, and she loves photography. So I was like, start up a side hustle.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. I said, that's the secret, Mom. Nobody does. I said, do you think I know what I'm doing with this podcast? So I was like, I'm learning as I go. I said, you just need to get out there. Start talking to people.
That's where it is.
That's the main thing, is just learn from people who've done it. When I was 17 and I was getting really big in photography, for one summer, I went out there, I went on Google, searched up all the photography studios in Tulsa, sent each and every one of them. I called them. Mm-hmm. I sent them a text saying, hey, I'm a high school student. I'd love to intern with you for free.
Yeah.
I want to learn from you. I want to help you out. And I got an internship pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I learned so much about photography and the whole business aspects behind it. Not my favorite, I'll be honest, but I love doing it on the side, and obviously I learned good lessons. I'm starting a podcast now.
Yeah.
Here we are. I'm applying those lessons in my actual career that I enjoy. So I really like that. Yeah. So you've been doing mortgage lending. So explain the first steps of you getting into the actual mortgage lending role. You got out the processing role, and you want to jump feet first.
Yeah.
How was that transition like?
Oh gosh, it was baptism by fire is what it was. So, I mean, as you know, kind of like what you were just talking about with with your mom and with what you've done is you just got to get out and start talking to people, and that's what I started doing, talking to people, like real estate, realtors, because that's where, for mortgage lenders, that's where a lot of our referral sources is from.
Is building good relationships with realtors, because realtors are directly connected to the buyer.
They see people all the time. So there was that, and then talking to people that I know, my family and friends, and just letting them know this was before social media, so it's not like I could post every day like, hey, I'm a mortgage lender, call me.
You actually had to pick up the phone and call
exactly. Like, whoa, what a concept. Right. So that's where it started, and there was a lot of oh my gosh. I mean, even to this day, there's still a lot of failure with it. They're just in recent weeks, you think you have a transaction, it's all going well. Well, then something happens. Yeah. Yep. For whatever reason. And it could be, not to get into the vernacular of what we do, but it could be, like an appraisal shortage. Someone loses their job, which we've had happen during the pandemic over the last couple of years, or the person just decides that they don't want to buy the house, or they don't want to do like a refinance. If I'm helping somebody with a refinance and they say, you know what, we've decided we just don't want to do this, we're going to do something else or whatever. So there's a lot of, you hit a lot of roadblocks that it's so hard to anticipate what is really going to
come to fruition.
Get to the closing table. Like that's how you get paid.
Yeah.
So it's just, you have to have what's some of the word, like a constant like hopper or funnel of people, of prospects that are in. It's a numbers game. It's like, okay, if I've talked to so many people, hopefully X number of contacts will either refer somebody to me, or they'll get in contact with me because they have immediate need for my product or service, and then filter it down from there. Exactly. So you just kind of have to back into the numbers, and it's like, what activities do I need to do to make that happen?
So what kind of activities do you do every day that you owe your business to?
Yeah. So current day, again, because we have some
we're kind of jumping back and forth.
No, we have better technology now. Now, I don't have a mixer and all the wonderful tools that you have. But like we were talking about before we started. So here's some and I like to keep everything very simple.
Right.
So, and maybe some of my competitors will be watching this but I don't
take notes.
Yeah, take notes. I really, and I have different philosophies on that as well. We're none of us are really in competition with each other. Right. In my opinion, there's plenty of business out there for everybody. I'm just going to play my game, and my competitors will play theirs. Everybody just kind of stick to their lane.
I feel like it's best if you're in competition with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let me get back to some of the daily things, again, keeping it very simple. I kind of go like it's the power of twos. So I send out 2 note cards every day, which, again, that's kind of old school because,
but people appreciate it a lot more than maybe just a message on social media. So message on social media, I mean, they get plenty of messages through there. They may just overlook it by accident, or they might not have notifications turned on and whatnot. So many variables. Yeah. But a handwritten note, that means somebody had to take time out of your day to handwrite that note, think about that note, and send it,
and think about the message to write to, because there are services out there that you can get pre-printed message that looks like you wrote. No, I actually write the cards myself.
Yep.
So,
and speaking of that, I got something in the mail from you literally just 2 weeks ago. So it was my mom's birthday.
Yeah, there you go. Yes.
Okay. And you knew it. And I was like, wow, I'm impressed. I was like, go Steve.
Yeah, there you go. So you can validate this is something that I actually do.
Something you actually do.
So there's a combination, and we have resources. There's CRM tools that we have out there that tell us whenever it's one of our clients' birthdays, or whenever it's their loan anniversary, like whenever they the 1 year anniversary of when they closed or whatnot. So that triggers us to either
keeping good tabs on your database and make sure you're always inputting that information as like their birthdays, home anniversary, such.
Right.
It really helps out because then it pops up and be like, hey, it's their birthday, or hey, it's their home anniversary. Write them a note.
Exactly.
Makes it easy.
Yeah.
So every day when you go to write your notes, you can just pull up your database and you're like, oh, it's this person's birthday, this person's birthday.
Exactly.
Let's write.
And there's always plenty of people for me to send notes to. So I can either send them to, so we're at the beginning of the month. So one of the first things that I do the first day or two of the month is I send thank you notes to whoever I did a mortgage loan for the previous month. Yeah. Thanking them.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you for your business. Appreciate, enjoy your home. Please reach out to me if you reach out to me, as well as if you know anybody that needs my product or service, put them in contact. And I put one of my business cards in there. So I do 2 of those a day. Again, there are a lot of services out there that tell you like you should do like 10 cards a day, have 5 meetings a week, 2 lunches. I mean, so my thought process is, again, I just want to keep it simple. Yeah. Something and simple and achievable.
Right.
What's something that I can achieve? Whenever I was setting this out last year, I'm like, what can I achieve? I can do 2 cards a day.
Because sometimes showing up and actually putting the effort in is a lot more important than being perfect.
Yeah.
Versus, you could send out 10 note cards a day and achieve that perfect status. Or just, as long as you're there every day sending 2 postcards, it's a lot easier to obtain, and you're going to be more consistent with it. And in the long run, you may send out more postcards than you would if you had the goal of sending out 10 postcards, and maybe one day you got 2, maybe one day you got 6, such like that. It's not as consistent.
Right. And not only that, but it's kind of a beat down mentally. It's like, okay, well, gosh, the wheels have fallen off here 2-3 days in a row. I said I was going to send 10 and I've only sent 2. Yeah. Well, now I'm like, I'm beating myself up, and then I'm like, okay, no, I don't want to do it anymore because I'm like 30 behind. Yeah. So no, so that's one thing. Again, we use a combination of a lot of tools. So I think that's a very old school thing, and that's something that not a lot of people are doing. Right. So again, I'm sharing
Some
info.
insider secrets. Take notes, people.
So there's that. Then, we have our, like I said, we have our CRM tools that, there's some monthly newsletters that go out, which are purposeful as well. And then I like to follow up with two people, like either a phone call or text messaging, if I have any prospects that I'm working with that maybe I talked to them last month, they're still looking for a house, they're considering a refinance, just checking back in with them like, hey, how's everything going? How's your search going? Anything I can do to be helpful. Just so I'm always staying
providing
in front of them.
value.
Yeah. So that's another daily task that's out there. And then as we were talking about before this started is some of the videos, the video content that I push out, keeping it very simple, very quick, 30-second
just
videos.
A quick little tip.
Yeah. Something
or an
related
update about the market.
Right.
Something that people don't really know, but it helps them out in the long run. Like everybody who owns homes should stay updated with the market, just so they know the value of their home for any reason.
Yeah. And I never want to make the assumption that, sometimes I look at, because I do this every day.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, gosh, everybody knows this. I can't assume that everybody knows.
Not everybody has the time to go on the internet and look up statistics about the real estate market and what homes around them have sold for what price.
Yeah.
Like that's not something on top of people's mind, but it's something that's important to know.
Sure.
And with our profession, we can bring to them.
Absolutely.
And it helps us stay on top of their mind. So when they do think, oh, hey, I think it's time to refinance or to sell my home, they think of us.
Right. Right.
Well, I love the conversation we're having, but we're going to take a little intermission here before my camera shuts off.
Sounds great.
So we'll be right back.
All right. Thanks.
We're back.
All right.
Got some water, took a bathroom break.
Yeah.
Made a business call.
It's never ending. There's always something going on, right?
So we last left off with talking about your daily roles as a mortgage person.
Sure.
What's your official title?
Mortgage loan originator. Yeah.
Mortgage originator. Yeah. There you go. So what got you into the investing side of real estate? Obviously you had some clients, you saw them come through even as a processor, seeing these clients come through and buying however many homes a year. Yeah. And you had to think to yourself, why are they doing this?
Yeah. There was something to that. So that's, so
they're doing this for good reason. They're spending a lot of money on these houses.
There's something to this, and I'd say it kind of goes to you've probably heard the saying, Andrew Carnegie, 90% of all millionaires own real estate. And I
think the percentage has gone up. I feel like it's like 96.
It's got to be like 100. Yeah, I don't know.
Like, I'll see how people live without it.
So that quote has always stuck with me. Yeah. And I would say that there's definitely some truth to that. Right. Very simple quote, very simple statement. So I just started getting into real estate investments about, like I mentioned previously, 7 years ago. Because again,
you were about, let's say you were talking,
40.
So you were 13 years into the business of doing loans,
right?
And then you got into the investing side.
Yeah.
Okay, so it kind of took you.
It took a while. I went through my entire 30s just kind of I'm like, I should do that.
I'll get to that eventually.
But those were. So in my 30s, there was a lot going on then too. That's whenever I got married and had 3 kids, all within the span of 3 to 4 years. I was 31 when we got married, and by the time I was 34, I had 3 kids. So from age 30 to 35, marriage, 3 kids, there was a lot going on.
Being a dad and a husband was number one.
Yeah, exactly. So. And it still is. And again, that's for another conversation, another time. But, so as time went on, I looked at them, I'm like, you know what, this is the time. This is the time to just pull the trigger, pull the ripcord on it. And so I got into it when my first deal that I did, it was actually a flip. I decided, I'm like, I don't know that I want to be a landlord, but I do want to invest in real estate. I think flips would be, just short-term flips would be the path that I would want to go. So talking to my wife about it, I'm like, look, we're in a position, if we do one deal, it's not going to bankrupt us. Like you have to look at when you're analyzing everything, is like bottom line it. Like bottom line, if this thing goes really bad,
if it goes south,
what are my outcomes?
What are the repercussions?
Yes,
of completely whiffing this flip.
Yeah, so that's how we looked at it, and I was like, okay, if I can live with those outcomes, then Yeah.
Should be good.
Then let's go.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So what'd your first deal look like?
Disaster.
as your early business ventures.
Right, exactly. I'm like, really? Am I going down this path again? Everything. But here's what I will say. I learned so much from that.
Right. From
that first deal a lot of things were born from that first deal of how I analyze every deal that I go into now. Now, surprisingly, that first deal, it was still profitable, but I encountered every problem you could possibly think of. And every contractor that would come to the house or anybody that was like, ooh, boy, you got your hands full with this one. I'm like, yeah, thanks. Yeah. The last 5 people told me the same thing. I'm like, how am I going to
those aren't words you want to be hearing.
Yeah.
Especially when you're first jumping into it.
I'm like,
it can almost be a little discouraging. You're like, you're really? Serious? Did I really buy that bad of a deal?
It just... every possible problem that it could. It was an auction property, or foreclosed property. Yep. So you had very limited data. It was like you take a risk with some of that
Cross
stuff.
Your fingers. And
hope exactly.
It pans out. It's kind of like that. I don't know what the law is called, but what can go wrong will go wrong.
Oh yeah, Murphy's Law. That's exactly, and that's what it was. But again,
great
learned a lot from it. Had to, and so getting into that. The transition of going into that was painful because I didn't have any relationships with any contractors. So I was, when I went into it, I thought I was going to mirror what I do in mortgage lending. I'm like, I've developed some great relationships. People trust me to be able to do mortgage lending for them and refer people to. I'm going to take that same concept and carry it over into my investment where, whenever I start buying investment properties. Well, that's all well, and it's working out better now. But on the first deal, like, these people don't know me. When I'm reaching out to contractors, they're like, "Who are you?" Like, we don't. I'm like, I've been doing mortgage loan. Like, we don't know who you are. You've never bought a house. Like, we don't know if we can trust you or know anything about it. So there was a lot of people no-show you. You set an appointment to come and get a bid on something, and they
just don't show.
They just flake. Now that still happens. It's probably gotten worse.
Sadly,
but so that first it was a painful.
So what do you think the biggest lesson, the biggest takeaway you could take away from your first deal being as bad as it was?
Yeah, I think just learning more about what to look for in a property. Let's look at do we have some structural issues and not only that, the roof, the paint, like how much am I really going to have to? So developing a really good working budget.
Right.
And then not only that, but adding to that, to make certain that you build in a buffer.
Some cushion.
Yeah. Additionally, taking into account for all costs. So a lot of people that flip properties and remodel properties, they don't take into account, you have carrying costs during the process. So you have carrying costs or your utilities, your home insurance, your debt service, if you have interest that you have to pay during that time, property taxes, you have to account for that. Those are rolling costs that are happening at all times.
And if a project takes 6 months longer than you expected it, you got 6 months longer of holding costs that you got to take account for.
Yeah, so it's more than just, okay, what can I buy it for and what's my remodel cost?
Yeah.
There's closing costs when you buy it. Yep. There's closing costs when you sell it. And then you have to, if you list it, with a realtor, you have to factor that in as well. And then seller concessions. Yep. And then you're probably going to have some TRR, some repairs. Even though you've done everything perfect as you can.
People are picky.
Yes. Their inspectors are always going to come in and find something. So I'd say the most valuable thing I learned from that one was to really dig in a little deeper and, really truly
learn as much about the property as you can.
Yeah. And what things truly cost.
Right.
Now that's what present day is a big challenge with inflation being the way that it has. A lot of costs on things have gone up since, just even a year ago, 2 years ago. Right. So you really have to factor
just material costs.
Yeah, material costs on.
And you got also take into account the supply shortage.
Yeah.
If you want to go get a washer and dryer, that may take a little extra longer. A dishwasher, even furniture. Mm-hmm. Went into the furniture store in December. We were shopping for some new chairs for the house.
Yeah.
The lady said, yeah, we can order those chairs for you. We'd love to, but it's not going to be until like March until like we get them. So we're like, yeah, no, we don't feel like waiting 3 months.
Yeah, I don't want to, like, you want something like that. You think you want it now. It's like my immediate need is now.
And then 2 weeks later, we're like, no, we didn't need those armchairs.
Yeah.
Save some money. Like it was probably a good thing.
Yeah.
But that's something you got to take into account, especially with your timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Get those items ordered ASAP.
Yeah,
Let me tell
exactly.
you, in this market, at least in this market.
You're absolutely right. So if I have any projects going on now, particularly like this, like, okay, I'm going to order if I need a new range or dishwasher or whatever, I'm going to order those day one, knowing that it's probably going to take a little bit of time.
We'll get there by the time you're done with it.
Yeah. Oh, perfect timing. They roll up on the delivery in the driveway,
Instead of
ready to go.
until you're done with everything.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, we got to get this ordered.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, it's going to take another
another 60 days. What?
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
Insane. So what's your investment portfolio looking like now? And what are some challenges are you facing with that, with trying to scale your portfolio?
Right. Yeah. So now, I mean, fast forward so that was the first deal, was flip. So I primarily wanted to do flips, but then in about, when was it? At the end of 2018, November of 18, that's when there was a transition of, I think there's something to this long-term portfolio thing. So I bought my first rental back in Cleveland, Oklahoma. Again, all roads lead back to the hometown of Cleveland, Oklahoma. That was my first rental purchase then. I've since sold that property. And the reason why is when I initially bought that property, I thought that there would be other opportunities to buy other homes in the area. It didn't present itself. So whenever the tenant moved out, the opportunity came it was the right time to sell it at that time. So, but I went pretty aggressive in that. So that was, gosh, what was that? Three and a half, just over 3 years ago. Well, since then I have, right now I have 16 rentals, 16 doors is what I have. And I've sold a few of those in between then. So again, in this market, just depending on the timing of it, when the tenant moves out, I mean,
sometimes you just got to take the opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. When the timing is right, you just have to do that. So we've built up to a portfolio of 16.
When you see one of your properties increase in value and appreciate a lot like that, what stops you from doing more of a refinance and trying to cash out some of that versus selling it?
Yeah. So doing the cash out. So one of the things that if you do a cash out and take some of the cash out, it can clip your cash flow. So I can't go to my tenants and say, hey, I just took a cash out refinance. I put money in my pocket. I need you to pay for it. Yeah. I need to bump your rent to be able to. So that would be, now I do employ that strategy. I'm sure you've heard of the BRRRR strategy, which is popular. I'll go through a simple take of what I try to do on each property. So I have a line of credit that I can go in and purchase these homes as cash.
Right.
So I buy them as cash, and then I also use that line of credit to fix them up, rehab them. Then I go to my commercial lender and do a cash out refinance based on the appraised value of that property. Now, a lot of times, not always, but there have been times where I've not only been able to recoup my acquisition price, my rehab costs, but sometimes put a little bit of money back into my pocket. So my cash on cash return is like infinity.
Forced appreciation is a very valuable tool to use.
Yeah. And then I have it ready to rent out. It's like I got into this deal for literally nothing. Out of my pocket.
You just had to put the time and effort and get it done.
Now,
manage the project.
it doesn't work out like that always. I mean, I've had a few.
Perfect.
I've had a few that it's been like, okay, we hit a home run on this one. It's great. There have been some, because it all depends on the appraisal value, and you can't control that. You don't know what it's
There's
subjective.
So many conditions and variables behind an appraisal that people don't realize.
Right. But if I can recoup most of my costs, that's opposed to
pretty dang good,
as opposed to buying a house, putting 20% down and then having to put, say, another 20, 25 in it to rehab it. Well, unless you're made of infinite funds, you're not going to go very far with that strategy. So, so even though I haven't been able to recoup all of my money employing that strategy, I've been able to recoup enough of it to where we just continue to repeat the process.
Just a loop, in a way, real estate loop.
Yeah,
buying underappreciated homes, force appreciation by rehabbing it, completely remodeling it. So, how far do you usually go with your remodels?
It depends on what is needed. You know, a lot of it's going to be cosmetic. You know, a lot of these houses that we buy, they're going to need new flooring. They're going to need new paint.
You don't try and go for the ones that you have to take down to the studs. Usually.
No.
Too much work.
I mean, we've bought some of those in the past, but those have been more of like flip type properties, short term.
Gotcha.
But on our longer term holds, it's been more of cosmetic type stuff. Where if it needs, like sometimes it may need a new HVAC system or a new hot water tank, and then we need to remodel the kitchens and the bathrooms because again, we want value with the burst strategy because we're trying to get recapture as much back as we can. But those are some of the things. And then we do inspections on all of our properties. So I go through it and I clear everything on that inspection list. That way I know whenever I put a tenant in that property, everything's clear.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
So,
do you ever do like a post inspection after you're done rehabbing it?
Yeah, we do. I do a walkthrough with my contractors to make certain that that we've checked everything off the box. That like, hey, was this report had that the exterior hose bib was leaking? Okay, we replaced that. Or the faucet in the kitchen was leaking. Well, we totally replaced that. So that's not an issue. Or the garbage disposal didn't work. Well, we replaced that. So that's good. Or toilet. I mean, I'm just thinking of like, these are some of the random things that come up on an inspection report. It's like, I want to make certain that it's clear.
Yeah.
That way when I have a tenant
So when a tenant gets in there, they're not going to first day, hey, this is broken.
This. Yeah. They go through all the checklist of things.
You get a happy tenant.
Yeah.
Happy tenants are good tenants.
Absolutely. And so on that note, I look at tenants as they're my customers. If you're a landlord, they're doing you they're paying down a debt on a asset that you own, but I try to always take care of my tenants and whatever needs that they have, because again, they're my customers. Just like in mortgage lending, these are my customers, and I have to take care of their needs. You want
to make sure there's a win-win situation for everybody in all business, really. But when they're paying down your loan for you, they're helping you out, but you're also giving them a place to stay, to live. Maybe they're not in the financial position. Maybe they're to buy a house. Maybe their credit's shot for whatever reason. Like there's so many variables that maybe they don't have employment history long enough to buy. Right. And they need a place to live. So like,
there's always something that's prohibiting somebody from buying. And some people may be in position, to be honest with you. I've had tenants where they're most likely in position they could buy a house. They just don't want to. They don't want to have they don't want to be saddled with the burden of being a homeowner and having to fix everything.
There's a lot of caveats to that. Like what if a hot water heater goes out,
exactly.
the furnace, roof starts leaking, plumbing busts, especially during the winter time.
Oh my gosh, now you're bringing back horror stories there's so much good and bad with being
what are some of your favorite parts of real estate, whether that be lending or even just the investing side?
Yeah, I think with the investing side, it's just seeing the kind of the potential that can be with these properties. Like I have a project that we're taking on. We're literally just getting started on it today, and just seeing the condition that it's in now and having the vision, kind of walking through with my guys of like, hey, here's what we're going to do. This is where we're going to take it. So that's the exciting part.
I think that's one of the coolest feelings ever is walking through a house that's all beaten up from the 1960s, still has pink tile in the bathrooms. It's just gross,
You just described this exact house that I'm working on.
Yeah, probably. It's just an eyesore, And then you see it after it's all said and done, and it's like it's a new house. Like I would love to live here. Like,
exactly.
3 months ago, I'd tell you.
Like man, I wouldn't put my dog in that house.
$200 a month to live there.
So that's the
very
fun
rewarding
part of it. Yeah, it's very rewarding. Now there's, like I said, there's a great quote that I've heard. It goes that everything's not always as good as it seems, but it's not always as bad as it seems either.
Right.
So there's bad things that happen too. So you walk through these properties, and it's like when you start doing some demo work or something, like, oh, well,
you find a problem.
Here's Steve. I need you to come over here. You know, I'm like, I don't like.
Yeah, I bet you hate that call.
Yeah, I'm like, just don't even call me. Just
deal with it.
Just do it and just tell me later.
Right.
So there's that, or even being a landlord, getting the phone call. I mean, it's fun to receive the rent every day. As I always joke, I'm like, I'm allergic to paying bills. Like, now I still pay them, because I have to.
Right.
But it's like, it's fun to see the rent coming in, but it's like, oh man, I got all these other things. I got to pay my property taxes, my home insurance, my debt servicing, and then any repairs or anything that goes along with it, or getting, whenever, like being in Oklahoma, whenever we have bad weather, like anytime we have snowy or icy weather, I just like,
it's
duck,
just like,
I'm like, okay, like
we get all tense.
Yeah, we got this last round. Fortunately, we had 2 storms that rolled through here. They were only around for a couple of days, so that was good. But last year, when we had that, it was below freezing for like 12, 13 days, like almost record time, and
for Oklahoma, at least,
And I had still to say 15 properties at the time, and I had there were some frozen pipes, busted. I mean, it's like, but you have to deal with it. It's like what can I do? This is this is what I chose. I knew this going in, and it feels like whenever you get that call or you get the text messages of like, hey, this is what's going on. It feels like it's everything, like all of them at once. But when you zoom out, which is what I try to do, is I zoom out. I'm like, okay, it's not as bad as it. Yeah, it's not as bad as it.
Maybe for 1 month you lost a little bit of money, but then you gotta look at the next 30 years of you owning that house.
Exactly.
How much cash flow you're gonna get every year.
Yeah, I tell you, as a property investor, if you're gonna be a landlord, you definitely have to have long-term vision. Like you can't get, if you get caught up in short-term game. No, if you look at the short term, you will spin yourself out of control and stress yourself out. Yeah, big time. It's a long game. It's long term.
I always tell people, like, I want to be like a real estate investor. Like, first and foremost, someday I want that to be my main job title. As much as I love being an agent, I want to be an investor myself.
Sure.
And then I always get pushback like, oh, have you not heard of those tenant hoarding? You can take it whatever way you want.
Yeah.
Like Kyle, on the other hand, he takes it more into the, I'm own little mini hotels.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool in its own aspect.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's putting a pool table, a foosball.
Yeah.
Like we were in
tetherball.
I'm like, dude, that's awesome. I was with him and I was like, man, I ran the tetherball courts in middle school. Like I was telling him, I was like, I'm gonna rent this for a night just so so you can be. I'll just invite some friends over, cook some burgers, play some tetherball.
Just be a tetherball king.
Because I was the taller kid in school.
Yeah.
Wow, he destroyed kids left and right.
Man.
Little short kids would come.
Yeah, I didn't like people like you whenever we played tetherball. Whenever I was in 6th and 7th grade.
Yeah. Man. you were better at the Foursquare.
yeah, Foursquare, very versatile, very quick, bam, spike it over,
or tag stuff like that. Running, you
exactly.
Could evade. So
it's like I always play to my strengths, man.
Yep. I hung out at the tetherball course. I didn't play tag because I wasn't as quick and agile. Because people would just juke me out. And I'm like,
that's exactly what I would do.
So we each had our strengths. In school that we didn't.
Yeah.
Just play to your strengths.
That's right.
That's the key lesson.
Gosh, that is so true.
Before my camera died, we were talking about real estate investing and the negative aspects behind it, and how you gotta kind of look at it in a long-term sense. It's not a short game. You're not gonna make you may make all your money back in a year, but you possibly might not. You know, and you're gonna have to deal with pipes bursting, hot water heater. The list goes on and on. Yeah. But what would you say makes it worthwhile long term? Because there's so many aspects to real estate investing that makes it worthwhile long term. But for you, what's the thing that stands out? What do you enjoy seeing the most?
There's 4 things that I enjoy seeing. So one being appreciation and value. Homes are
the past
always
2 years.
Especially with the last 2 years. So
insane.
But even if you take out the last 2 years, so say you get on average, I don't know, whatever, 1 to 2% appreciation per year. Yeah. I mean, and every market's different. So appreciation, that's one. Amortization. So seeing my loan balance go down on my debt,
and you not having to,
and me not, so it's
you're
just
not the one paying.
Yeah, it's like it's an exchange of like, okay, I received this rent, and I pay down this debt, and then and all my other expenses, and then there's a little bit left over for me too. So that's
the cash flow.
That's
number
nice.
3.
Yeah. So cash flow. That's the other. Yeah, that's the third one, and then the fourth one would be tax benefits. I mean, you have the
I feel like that's what a lot of people don't realize. That's like the most undermined aspect of real estate investing. Yeah. People really kind of are attracted to the cash flow. Yeah. And which is great. Don't get me wrong. It's wonderful. Love it. But tax benefits, I've heard those are huge.
It is. It's, and you have to have a good CPA that understands, how to maximize what can you take as deductions? How do you classify yourself from a tax perspective to minimize your taxable liability or income on that? So yeah, it's been the best thing that I could have done. I mean, now looking back, I wish I would have started sooner, but like my dad and grandpa used to say the old saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago and today, so hey, no time like the present. Right.
That's what I've been telling my mom. No time like the present. Get on it.
Like just get on it. So those are the things that really keep me going with the, like when I get that call or text messages that, hey, a pipe is burst or, toilet's flooded or, XYZ, fill in the blank. I'm like, okay, it's a long-term thing because I don't need this. I have a full-time job as a mortgage originator.
It's not your full income stream.
So I don't need the money right now. It's not paying my bills for anything right now. So any cash flow that I could get, it's just, bonus. Right. And, we're just going to build it.
And then so what do you do with your cash flow? Do you just like save it? Do you kind of treat yourself, or do you throw it right back into real estate?
Yeah. So I do try to treat myself to small things, like I mentioned, I have children, so one, just to give you a small example, like my boys and I, every year, we're St. Louis Cardinals fans. So every year right before school starts, we take one last final trip to St. Louis to go watch a game. So sometimes I may use a little bit of funds from that to help fund that trip. Right. I mean, it's not an expensive trip, but it's something that I do to treat myself.
And going back on, that's why you do real estate. Yeah. Like that is the whole point of investing. Yeah. So you can take your boys to a trip right before school every year. Those are precious memories. You'll never be able to get back. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that money you'll be able to make back 100%.
Absolutely. But the key thing, I mean, we try to hold back some in reserve because again, you're a phone call away from another repair or something else coming up.
Right. You definitely have to be smart about it. Definitely gotta play it smart. Yeah. Don't go use all your cash.
No, any surplus and just go blow it on something that's, frivolous and meaningless. Right. But you have to
like a new Honda Accord, right?
Exactly.
I support it. Love the Hondas. Yeah. Love the Hondas. That's right. Well, Steve, do you have any last words that you want to say to the people at home and on the camera?
Yeah, I think a lot of times people reach out to me for advice, like how to get started. They think, they look at maybe where I'm at now and think, man, I want to get there. Yeah. I didn't get here overnight. No. It's been a 20-year, like we've talked about. I talked about some of the struggles that I went through. So it's
started with the pizza place.
Yeah, exactly. And that failed. And then I failed on my first real estate adventure. And, in my mortgage career, I mean, we didn't even touch the 2008 financial crisis. My goodness, that's a whole other
we're gonna have a part 2 of this podcast.
Yeah, we'll dig into that.
Why the market crashed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and why we're
gonna do the Big Short part 2.
Yeah, there you go. A great movie. Great reference. Yeah. So what I would tell people is, in my opinion, I don't think there's a get rich quick. Right. It's a get rich slow, and it's very boring. It's monotonous. It's not overly exciting. No, it's not. But you'll wake up one day if you start and you just start with one, and then it stacks into another, and then one day you look back and like, oh my gosh, we've really built something here, and this is exciting. So I would say if anybody that's younger than me, it doesn't really matter what age you are. Yeah. But if you have any inkling to get started on it, take that opportunity and just talk. Yeah, take the first step. Talk to some people and just just keep having conversations and keep going through each door until there's an absolute hard stop where it's like, no, I shouldn't do this.
Right.
But yeah, I would say just keep going and don't think that it's all going to happen.
It's
overnight.
not the end of the world when you hit a speed bump.
Yeah, no, it's not. I mean, and just know that there are going to be challenges. I mean, I know I have, my next challenge could be a phone call away. I don't know.
After this podcast,
I may have a phone call to return. There may be a fire that I have to, jump into to try to save the day. But just know that, that those things are going to happen. And just, again, just think of the long-term benefit and the long game, and just know that, again, it's all going to be okay.
I really like the old Greek philosophy of amor fati. Have you ever heard that, Steve?
Don't say that. I can't say that I have.
So
Share.
it's the love of fate, basically. Mm-hmm. They really taught, the whole philosophy behind it was to love everything that happens. Like, embrace it.
Yeah.
Like, I could fall down the stairs and break an arm, but that could prevent me. I could go to the hospital with a broken arm, and they could find like bone cancer or something early. Yeah. Like something always could be fortunate brought out of negative situations. Like, you gotta just embrace anything that happens to you, good or bad.
Totally.
So like, pipe may burst, but in 15 years, you're going to forget that pipe ever burst.
Exactly.
And you're going to be looking at the pay down on that mortgage, and you're going to be like, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's going to help fuel my retirement. That's going to help fuel my kids' college.
Absolutely.
Stuff like that. So, like you said, it's just a long game.
It is. And, like I said before, I think a good note to end on would be kind of in that same vein. What you're saying is it's never as good as it seems, and it's never as bad as it seems.
Exactly.
So if you can stay somewhere in the middle there.
So if you would have to say you have like a favorite quote that kind of pushes you through day-to-day monotonous activities and real estate investing and through all the good and the bad, what would you say your favorite quote is?
That one that I just shared right there. Kind
I
of stole my thunder on it.
I know that is
not to make it
quote.
Anticlimactic and try to shift gears to it, but I heard that from another podcast, a real estate investing podcast, and it's like basically, if you read in between that, it's like, okay, just be cool, just stay chill, because again, it's going to
be okay.
Yeah, it's going to be just fine. It's not as good or as bad as it seems. You may think like, you don't ever want to get too high on yourself thinking, man, I'm invincible. I can conquer the world. I can do anything. But you also don't want to be doom and gloom, chicken little, sky is falling, like, oh my gosh, this sucks. This is bad. I'm never going to recover from this, and I'm never going to get out of this situation.
Yeah.
No, stay somewhere balanced in between there, and it'd be just fine.
Well, I love that quote, and that's one of the big takeaways from this conversation. For sure. Well, if you have anything else to say to the camera, if you want to plug the Steve Brown branding, you go for it. The camera's all yours. The microphone's all yours.
Thank you. I would say this in closing. I mean, obviously, mortgage lending is what I do. It's not who I am, but it is something that I do. But one of the things that I do like to do is talk to people that are looking to get into real estate investments, whether they're buying a primary house and they need a mortgage loan. I'm happy to have that conversation and go down that path with them as well. But there's a lot of people that I talk to, that I meet with, that want to know how the first steps just to get started in, whether it's flipping properties or buying rental properties and whatnot. I enjoy having those conversations because I think the more good that you put out into the world, it's going to be reciprocated. So if I can do my part to help someone get along their path, and I hope that they go out and crush it.
Fully agreed.
Beyond what I've been able to do. So I'll just close at that and just throw that out there.
Well, I appreciate you so much for coming on the podcast.
Absolutely.
We've had a wonderful conversation. Even though my camera might have cut out here and there, I'm learning along the process. We're only on episode 3. By the time episode 100 comes out, this is going to be really polished.
So clean.
It's going to be nice. And, I'll look back and be like, it was worth all those struggles, like having to carry around my equipment. By then I'll have my own studio, like I'm just trying to enjoy it for what it is now. Absolutely. So when I'm on episode 100, I can look back and be like, I did it. So that's my goal, is trying to, as you were saying, put out value into the universe. I hope somebody like me, because I started watching Bigger Pockets podcast when I was 17 years old.
That's amazing.
Like, I was so fascinated about how people were making the money and just everything behind it. And so I hope another 16, 17-year-old kid just like me watches my podcast, and maybe it inspires them. Maybe they don't watch any more episodes, but what if it inspires them to go watch Bigger Pockets or inspires them to go pick up a book about real estate investing? Like, it would make me immensely happy.
Absolutely. That's what I believe that's what we're here for, to be, to help our community and help others, do better or help them achieve their dreams.
I want to see everybody I know and everybody I'm close with achieve great wealth and happiness.
Absolutely. Great.
Above all. So,
well, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and I hope everybody at home enjoyed the video. Make sure you give a like down below and always hit that red subscribe button. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.